Alex slouched over his notebook, the soft hum of the empty high school library filling the silence. The afternoon sun slanted through the blinds, casting stripes of gold across his textbooks. He had stayed late to finish his history project, though his focus wavered more on thoughts than facts. Outside, the hallways were deserted, the usual chatter and footsteps replaced by a strange, lingering quiet. It was in that quiet that he first noticed Mr. Bennett's shadow stretching across the doorway. "Still here, Alex?" The principal's voice was calm, neutral, yet carried a weight that made Alex glance up quickly. Mr. Bennett's eyes, warm but sharp, seemed to observe more than just his unfinished work. Alex felt a flicker of nervousness, a mixture of guilt and curiosity. Staying late wasn't forbidden, but being noticed like this made his chest tighten. Just finishing some work?" Alex murmured, tucking a loose strand of hair behind his ear. His voice sounded smaller than usual, but he couldn't quite tell if it was shyness or something else tugging at his thoughts. Bennett stepped closer, his presence filling the room without needing words. He leaned slightly against the table, faceless in this moment, yet undeniably imposing. "I can give you a lift home if you want. Seems late to be walking." His tone was casual, professional even, yet something in the way he said it made Alex's stomach twist with an unexpected excitement. Alex hesitated, fingers brushing over the corner of his notebook. The offer wasn't unusual. Many students had rides home, but something about Mr. Bennett made it different. There was a subtle kindness in his eyes, a softness that seemed out of place with the firm authority he usually projected. Alex nodded, words failing him, and gathered his bag. Walking to the parking lot, Alex noticed the small details he hadn't before. The way Mr. Bennett's tie was slightly loosened, the faint scent of cologne mingling with the autumn air, the relaxed pace that contrasted with the rigid, controlled figure he presented at school. Every detail seemed magnified, lingering in Alex's awareness. His heart thumped faster with each step. Sliding into the passenger seat, Alex adjusted the seatbelt almost obsessively, his fingers fumbling as he tried to focus on anything mundane. The interior of the car felt quiet and private, a bubble separate from the rest of the world. Mr. Bennett started the engine, the low rumble vibrating through the floor, and Alex realized he was acutely aware of the space between them. "So, how's the project going?" Mr. Bennett asked, breaking the silence. His voice was steady, easy, yet carried an undercurrent of attention that made Alex's words catch in his throat. "It's okay, I guess," Alex replied, forcing a casual tone that didn't quite reach his mind. He wanted to sound normal, but the proximity, the attention, made his thoughts scatter. Every glance toward Mr. Bennett revealed a subtle expression, a fleeting smile, a raised eyebrow, signals Alex had no experience interpreting but somehow understood intuitively. The road stretched ahead, empty and quiet. Streetlights flickered on, casting pools of light that passed across the car, illuminating the lines of Mr. Bennett's face briefly before fading into shadow again. Alex's mind raced, imagining possibilities, imagining conversations that would never be spoken aloud. There was guilt, too, the faint, uncomfortable prickling in the back of his mind reminding him of boundaries, rules, and consequences. Yet, beneath it all, a strange thrill persisted. The isolation of the ride, the quiet intimacy of shared silence, allowed thoughts and emotions to stir freely. Alex shifted slightly, aware of every subtle movement. Mr. Bennett's hand brushing against the steering wheel, the tilt of his head when he glanced in the rearview mirror, the way his voice softened at certain words. Each small detail felt like a thread weaving tension between them. By the time they approached the first empty stretch of road outside the school, Alex realized he was both terrified and exhilarated. This ride was more than a simple favor. It was the beginning of something he couldn't yet name. His mind spun with questions, what-ifs, and forbidden fascination. The moment ended with a quiet pause as Mr. Bennett slowed the car, the road stretching ahead like a promise and a warning all at once. The car rolled along the quiet suburban streets, headlights cutting through the dimming evening. Alex kept his hands folded tightly on his lap, trying to focus on anything other than the charged stillness that seemed to hang between him and Mr. Bennet. The principal's presence was calm, steady, yet somehow heavier than before, like a gravity Alex could feel pressing against his chest. "So, any plans after this?" Mr. Bennet asked, his voice breaking the silence, but soft enough to feel personal. He didn't look at Alex directly, eyes fixed ahead, yet Alex sensed a subtle attentiveness in the tilt of his head. "Not really," Alex admitted, trying to sound casual. He caught himself glancing at the sleeve of Mr. Bennet's jacket, the curve of his shoulder and the way light fell on it. He felt a rush of awareness he didn't understand, a strange mixture of guilt and curiosity. "Just homework, I guess. You know, the usual." Mr. Bennet hummed softly, a sound that felt almost intimate in the confined space of the car. "I remember those days," he said quietly. "Everything feels urgent, even the small things. Pressure everywhere." He paused, and Alex realized the comment was meant to comfort, yet it stirred something else, an unspoken understanding. The silence stretched again, punctuated only by the soft purr of the engine and the occasional turn signal clicking. Alex's mind wandered to thoughts he tried to suppress. He noticed the subtle gestures he had missed before, the way Mr. Bennet's fingers drummed lightly against the steering wheel, the faint crease of concentration on his forehead, the occasional tilt of his head as he seemed to consider every word Alex said. Alex shifted slightly in his seat, and the sound of the seatbelt moving startled him into awareness. He could feel the tension between them growing, a silent pull that neither wanted to acknowledge but both seemed keenly aware of. There was no outward action yet, but the energy was undeniable, a delicate, invisible thread connecting them across the small distance of the passenger seat. As they passed an empty park, Mr. Bennet slowed the car without a word, glancing to the side. "I needed a moment to think," he admitted softly. His voice carried more weight than Alex expected, and he realized the principal's tone had a vulnerability he had never noticed before. In that pause, the quiet intimacy of the moment intensified. Alex felt his heart race, awareness sharpened to every minor movement, every subtle breath. He knew that crossing certain lines was forbidden, yet there was a temptation in the way Mr. Bennet's gaze, though outwardly fixed on the road, seemed to find him in glances. Each unspoken acknowledgement deepened the connection, each pause loaded with possibilities. The conversation shifted subtly, touching on dreams and fears rather than school assignments. Alex spoke of his ambitions, the uncertainty of college applications, the pressure from family. Mr. Bennet listened with genuine attention, offering small, thoughtful comments. It wasn't flirtation, at least not in the traditional sense, but in the confined space of the car, in the quiet glow of streetlights. Every word carried weight, and every gesture hinted at uncharted intimacy. Alex caught himself noticing things he had never considered before. The warmth in Mr. Bennet's laugh, the way he leaned slightly toward the wheel when concentrating, the quiet patience in his tone. Each detail built a tension that was both thrilling and terrifying. Guilt pricked at him. This shouldn't feel like this, but curiosity and desire pressed just as strongly. The car came to a stop at a secluded stretch of road, bordered by trees, casting long shadows. Mr. Bennet didn't speak immediately, and the silence between them was thick, heavy with unspoken thought. Alex could feel the electric charge of the moment, an intensity that neither had acknowledged aloud. Every small gesture, Mr. Bennet's hand shifting on the wheel, the subtle breath drawn before he spoke, felt monumental. Finally, Mr. Bennet's voice broke the quiet. "Sometimes, moments like this make you realize things you hadn't thought about before," he said, eyes briefly meeting Alex's in the rearview mirror. The glance was fleeting, but enough to make Alex's chest tighten. He didn't respond immediately, words caught in the tension, but he knew some boundary had already shifted, and the ride was no longer just a simple favor. The car remained still, the world outside swallowed by shadows and the distant glow of streetlights. Alex's fingers clutched the edge of his backpack, knuckles white. He could feel the quiet intensity between them pressing against his chest, a rhythm almost loud enough to drown out the hum of the engine. Every small movement of Mr. Bennet, an adjustment of the steering wheel, a slight tilt of his head, felt charged, deliberate in a way that Alex couldn't quite name. Mr. Bennet began, his voice soft, almost hesitant. He didn't meet Alex's eyes for long, but the brief glance he allowed was enough to make Alex's stomach twist. I care about you more than I should. The words were not loud, not dramatic, but they carried a weight that seemed to bend the space between them. Alex's heart raced, guilt and exhilaration colliding. I don't know what to say, Alex admitted, voice trembling despite his best effort. He looked down at his hands, wishing he could hide the rapid pulse he felt, wishing he could make sense of the storm of emotions inside him. Curiosity, longing, and fear all swirled together, impossible to separate. Mr. Bennet exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. I know, and you're right to be cautious. This can't go beyond a moment like this. His words were firm, yet there was an unmistakable softness beneath them, a vulnerability Alex had never imagined seeing in the principal who usually exuded authority. The silence that followed was heavy, but not uncomfortable. It was a silence filled with shared understanding, the kind of quiet that doesn't need words. Alex realized that the connection they shared in this fleeting moment was more than curiosity or attraction. It was recognition of something unspoken, a rare intimacy that defied explanation but demanded acknowledgement. Alex dared a glance at Mr. Bennet, noting the subtle tension in his jaw, the way his hand rested lightly on the steering wheel. He imagined the thoughts passing behind those steady eyes, the struggle of maintaining boundaries while feeling an undeniable pull. For a moment, it was as though the world had shrunk to just the two of them, suspended in time. I don't want this to be wrong, Alex murmured, almost to himself. The confession hung between them, fragile yet undeniable. He wasn't asking for permission. He was simply voicing the truth of his emotions, raw and unfiltered. Mr. Bennet nodded, understanding without needing further explanation. It isn't easy, he said, tone gentle. Moments like these, they remind us how complicated feelings can be. But recognizing them doesn't mean we act recklessly. The caution in his words was balanced by care, by a genuine desire to preserve both the moment and the boundaries they had sworn to respect. Alex exhaled, tension easing slightly. The anticipation, the fear, the unspoken longing, all still present but tempered by awareness. He realized that even though nothing overt had happened, this ride had changed him. He felt seen in a way that was both exhilarating and terrifying. The forbidden spark had ignited, but it was tempered by respect, by understanding the stakes involved. Slowly, Mr. Bennet started the car again, the engine's low rumble filling the silence as they continued down the quiet road. The ride home was calm, each absorbed in thought, yet connected by the shared weight of the moment. Alex felt a strange mixture of relief and disappointment. Relief that boundaries had not been broken. Disappointment that the thrill of what could have been lingered in the air like a sweet, forbidden scent by the time they reached Alex's driveway. The streetlights casting long shadows across the pavement, he felt a shift inside himself. He had glimpsed a world of emotion he had never known, experienced a connection that was thrilling and dangerous all at once. He unbuckled his seatbelt slowly, words failing him as he gathered his backpack. Thank you, Alex said quietly, finally meeting Mr. Bennet's eyes. The words were simple, yet loaded with meaning. Gratitude, acknowledgement, and a silent understanding of the unspoken bond they shared all resided in that single phrase. You're welcome, Mr. Bennet replied, voice steady, yet his eyes softened just enough to reveal the complexity of his own feelings. He paused, then added, Take care, Alex. Be safe. Alex nodded, stepping out into the crisp evening air. He watched as Mr. Bennet drove away, the car's taillights fading into the distance. A shiver ran through him, not from the cold, but from the intensity of the moment, from the realization that life sometimes offered experiences too fleeting to grasp, yet too impactful to forget. The driveway was quiet, the house looming ahead, ordinary and mundane. Yet Alex felt different. He had encountered something forbidden, something powerful, And even without crossing lines, he knew this night would linger in his thoughts for a long time. It was a ride, a conversation, a suspended heartbeat, but it was more than that. It was awakening, desire, and reflection all rolled into one.